Hi, and welcome back to Setting the Pace. This is episode 8, which sounds a bit crazy because I can't believe I've had 7 fantastic people that have taught me more and helped me become 1% better every single day. And today we have the 8th person here who is someone that I'm very, very excited to have on. So basically, this was a guest that caught me by surprise. I was at a wedding this summer of a very, very good friend, and I was just having a casual chat, thinking it was going to be just a really small chit chat. And it turned out to be a 2 hour long conversation where we spoke about business and growth mindset and marketing and how meeting the right people can literally change the trajectory of your life. So obviously, all of a sudden, I was like, okay, Mar, you're at a wedding, just enjoy it, which I really, really did. But in the back of my head, I was thinking, I need to have this guy on the podcast because he's really changed the way I think. And we've had many back and forth conversations, and just he's been a really good sounding board for me. And so I'm so excited to welcome Sam Urpani. Sam is a very successful founder of Agent Leaders, which sets real estate agents up for success by getting them leads on autopilot, helping them close more deals, and become top performing agents in their own market. Sam is also the co-founder of Bison, which is an award-winning digital agency here in Malta, and experts in web design, web development, e-commerce, and digital marketing. So as you can tell, Sam has a really varied and wide-ranging career. And so I'm sure that this episode is going to be very interesting for a lot of people. What I'm really looking forward to this episode is how Sam really focuses on 3 main things, which are his driving force in life, which are his mission, his vision, and his values. And within this episode, Sam says that understanding his mission, vision, and values has saved him at least 5 years of his life and has actually kind of catapulted him into this amazing world where he's always a work in progress, but for all of the right reasons. So in this episode, Sam and I are going to talk about how he created a 6-figure business and how he's never kind of felt more like he's doing the right thing in his life. So yeah, let's jump into it. And if you're still listening, please hit that subscribe button. It honestly really helps. Thank you.
That one conversation alone changed my life. When you go into business, you don't think of it from a business point of view and you're attached to the work because that's what you know how to do. The talent that you had and the thing you excelled in is one skill. Any part of my life, I feel like I'm struggling, I want to improve, and I find a coach or I find a method. Figure out what you actually want and to say, this is my dream life. And knowing that you can actually have it. When is the last time you asked yourself what you wanted?
Hey, Sam. Welcome to Setting the Pace. I'm so glad that you're here.
Hi, Maria. Pleasure to be here. Thanks for the lovely intro. Can't really beat that myself, so glad to be here and glad to talk to you.
Yeah. Is this your first ever podcast?
Yes, first ever podcast I've ever done. So just like I said, like you said before, growth mindset. So just trying to learn and just trying to, be comfortable being in these situations as well.
Fantastic. So as I mentioned in the intro, your career trajectory has been really interesting because it's been a roller coaster, but you've always been open to this work in progress mindset. How am I going to put myself in these uncomfortable situations and figure out a way back up and for the better? So the first question I'm going to start with is, anybody listening to this podcast that has no idea who you are, how would you describe yourself?
How would I describe myself? I'd say chilled, curious, and just always learning. That's pretty much it.
And what was your childhood like, or any context that we would need to really understand Sam?
Childhood, like my upbringing.
Yeah.
I think it's very Maltese, if you know what I mean. It's like had a great family, luckily, who let me do what I want, be who I want, and never really judged me for anything. So I think having that just allowed me to just discover myself and find out what my passions were really early in life. I never really was told what I should be and how I should be. It was just do what you want, figure it out for yourself, and do what makes you happy. And luckily for me, I found that quite early on in life.
Okay. And before we obviously sat down for this podcast, we met, and you told me how for you it was always it was never an option to be an employee. You always wanted to have your own thing. Where did that come from? Because for me, that feels quite foreign.
I don't know if it was I always wanted to when I saw myself. It was just, I think it was so normal around me. Like my mom had her own business, my dad had his own bar, my grandfather had his own restaurant where there was no real pressure for doing it. So nobody really was employed in my family. So like when I had my job, it wasn't that I hated being employed. It was just that I could do this myself. So I just got on with it and just said, oh, if I have these skills, if I can do these things, why not just do it myself and be my own boss? It was never really a motivation to not be employed, but it was just like, I can do this, why not do it myself?
Yeah.
And yeah, that was pretty much how I started.
Okay. And you being a bit of a chilled guy, kind of very neutral. You also have mentioned in the past that you have no reaction to a lot of things.
Yeah, I said that because we were speaking to Jackie at that time, and she was getting pissed off because I wasn't reacting in a certain way to certain situations. So, yeah, for me, it's just, I think I was naturally born that way. It's not like something I chose to be or something I wanted to become. It was just like, I just very relaxed and I'm not really emotionally attached to many things. And I don't really react to situations, not because out of choice. It's just, I'm naturally that type of person where I'm just, we'll just see what happens and we'll go with the flow. So yeah, that's pretty much not like something I became or I wanted to become. It was just something of like how I was actually born and brought up.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And then this kind of segues us into a really interesting part where, so you're this relaxed guy, but you've always kind of also been quite determined, quite driven, always knew there was something that you wanted to get to, not quite sure where, but it was something that you felt in your gut, right?
Yes, it was, like I said earlier, it was more that like I just always wanted to learn. I never really had pressure. I think the biggest thing was I never had pressure on me to perform. So whenever I did something, it wasn't my parents telling me, you have to do this, you have to get this result. Like I wasn't scared of failing because I think I had such great parents who let me like be myself and never like told me, you have to do this, you have to get this A mark, you have to. It was just like, do it. You know you're going to be bad in the beginning. Just figure it out and just. There was never that pressure of I had to be amazing. It was just, I just enjoy learning. So for me, it was like if I enjoyed something, I just wanted to learn more, and I wasn't scared of failing because I never had that pressure on me, luckily. So I think a lot of it comes down to my upbringing, being in an environment where I wasn't really pressured to do something or like looked down upon or compared to someone else. It was just like, do your best, enjoy it, and then there was never that fear of losing or fear of failing because it never really was there.
Okay, so it's like from a young age, it was always like, I get to do all these things, I don't have to.
Exactly. Failing was exciting. Like doing something wasn't like, oh no, I'm going to fail. It was like, okay, cool, let's try it. Okay. There was never an attachment of, if you do this, people are going to laugh, or if you do this, your mom is going to judge you, if you do this, your cousin's better than you. It was just like, just do it and enjoy it, enjoy the process.
And how were you at school? What kind of student were you?
Not good at all.
No?
No. I used to pass my exams, probably failed most of them. But then the thing is, like, when I found something I enjoyed, then I would excel in that. So, like, in computing, I'd get an A, but then everything else, I'd get, like, a C or a D. So, but again, it didn't come from a place of, I don't know, it didn't come from a judgment. It was more that if I'm interested in something, I'm going to go all in. And if I'm not interested in something, there's no way I'm going to focus or get things done. So in certain classes, you could imagine how that ended up going.
Yeah. I was kind of the same, so I can understand.
Yeah.
And this always made you feel like, okay, I've got this extreme ownership that really has been kind of something that's always grounded you in your life. And so my question to you is, how can you explain to people listening to this what extreme ownership means to you?
I think goes back to my upbringing. It was like, if something's going wrong, fix it. I think because my mom had her own business and my dad, and like the background was from that. I think being in business, you almost develop this sense of something's wrong, fix it.
Okay.
Don't complain. There's no victimization of like, this is who I am. I'm so sad. My boss shouted. It's like, get on with it. So my mom was always like, listen, there's a problem? Cool. What's the how are you going to solve it? What's the next thing? So I think having that approach to life and to everything else from such a young age was just like, cool, if you're not happy in a situation, fix it. If you're not happy in a relationship, then get out of the relationship or find a way to fix it. Mm-hmm. If the relationship isn't working, it's probably your fault. So like having that mindset to everything else, it sort of allows you to have control of what's happening around you. I know you can't apply it to everything. So like if someone gets sick or if something's along those lines, you can't have control. But having that mindset allowed me to just be more in control of my actions and throw everything on myself to realize I am the reason why I'm in this situation. And how can I get out of it? There's never like, oh, I'm going to stay here because I'm sad, or oh, I'm going to stay here. It's just like, get on with it and solve the problem. And then I think I got that from my mom, to be honest with you. It's like, just solve it.
So I think it sounds like the right way to, well, there's no right or wrong, but it sounds like a good way to think about things, having this extreme ownership. Because the reality is that maybe blaming other things, it's tempting. You know, because like I'm having a really bad day at work. Oh, my boss is a certain way, employees are a certain way. So how would you even start to really like stand in that like extreme ownership attitude if you've never maybe even considered it?
I don't know. I think it's a process. Like for me, luckily, it was instilled on me. So I like a lot of the things that I'm talking about, or like I mentioned, like I'm chilled, I'm this. It's like I didn't even try to make myself that way. It was just things that were instilled on me. So it's very hard for me to sit here and tell you, you should be doing this or you should, because I never really had to develop that. It was just, you are in control of your what's in front of you, and you can actually solve that yourself by just taking ownership of the situation you're in. So I think it's just more of like, instead of just sitting around and saying, my boss shouted at me, I hate my job. Okay, what are you going to do about it?
Okay.
Like, where are you going to go next?
Yeah.
Stop sitting around and like just letting it succumb to you. It's like, what are your actions and how you're going to get there, and what are you going to change to actually get out of the situation you're not happy in?
Yeah.
Is it your fault? Is it your boss's fault? Have you not done your work right? Can you do your work better? Or is it your boss? Okay, that means you should get another. It's just reasoning out logically and not emotionally to situations you're in, and just taking action.
Yeah. So as now your current, so you say that it's something that you can't teach and whatever, but I would not agree with that, because I know for a fact that part of your big time block right now is coaching and
100%.
teaching and leading others.
Yes, 100%. So I think it comes down to, I can say it from a way of where I've always had it. So I want to be careful with me saying you should do this in this specific way for extreme ownership and having that mindset, because again, it's something you develop, and I think it's something that comes to you over time. It's just, like I said, trying to detach yourself from your emotions, and just, I think it comes down to having extreme ownership is when you know where you're going.
Okay.
Like if you know where you want to go and what your life wants to be like, and you have a plan for that, then you can have extreme ownership, because you know, I am making this decision to get here. This is who I want to become. This is who I want to be. And what would that person say? And how would that person act?
Okay.
So I think it's more about having the right mindset and developing that mindset over time. But I mean, if you're someone who's very emotional and get attached to certain things, it's going to be very hard for you to do it. But I think it's just, if you can see the bigger picture of where you want to go,
makes everything
then you
clearer.
can slowly get there and realize where you're going wrong.
Yeah. So having that direction is obviously very important, but it wasn't always like this. So I know that you had a turning point where you were very frustrated. And this was when you were working, we still are working with Bison, but there was a point when it got to a point where like, okay, either things are going to change or I can't keep doing that. And hindsight's a beautiful thing. So when you look back, you say that frustration was probably the best thing that ever happened, because it really, you know, gave the business its next couple of years that then got easier and easier. Yeah. But if you had to go back on thinking about Bison and that journey, can you tell us a bit about it?
Yes, I think it's a common journey, because most entrepreneurs, like most business people, start because they're good at one thing. Like I was good at websites, or you could be good at baking, or someone's good at being, or someone could be good at accounts, right? And you think to yourself, okay, I can do this myself. But what I failed to realize in the beginning, because I never really was employed, I started this when I was 21 years old. I had one job, so I was never really exposed to how business actually works.
You were just going from job to job.
So I just had a passion, and I loved designing websites. And my partner who I met, Michael, basically loved developing websites. So we said, okay, let's just do this together. We can do it ourselves. But I think that's the most common problem people face, is that you do that, say, you start on that journey because you want to be your own boss. You want to just do the things yourself and live this fantasy life. It's going to be so amazing, and I'm going to travel the world. But you realize that it's a myth, because once you start business, the talent that you had and the thing you excelled in is one skill. And the second thing, the most important thing, is how to be good in business. And I think when you go into business just starting out, you forget to think about that. Instead of having one boss, you have 100 bosses. And now you have a problem of how to grow a business, which Mike and I did for 5 years of, we grew it to a certain level, to a certain capacity, and set to a certain limit. But then everything stayed the same and everything got stuck there. And we could never grow. And we always blamed ourselves. We blamed the market. We blamed Malta. We blamed our clients. But the biggest problem was us.
And what do you mean stuck there?
We were stuck at a certain level. So I think what I could say now is that your level of success is capped by your level of leadership. How good of a leader are you to actually understand where you're going, build out a team around you, and get people to help you get there?
And would you say you were a good leader?
I was a terrible leader back then. I can say it now because I was just telling people what to do back then. And that's the reason why I got stuck. It's the reason why I think the most common problem is that you're good at one skill, you go into business, and then the thing that you loved, the thing that you're most passionate about, you end up hating. I love designing, I love websites, I can't look at designing another website ever again in my life. Because I did it for 5 years, and I did it with 100 different clients, and 100 different bosses, and 100 different problems. And I stressed myself out so much on the one thing I love to do, which was design. And now it comes to a point where I've lost that passion because I attached it to my business. And I attached all the problems of that thing I once loved to actual business problems.
But a lot of people tell you, find something you're passionate about and you'll never work a day in your life.
Yeah, you could do that. But the problem is that eventually, once it becomes your work, you are going to not enjoy doing the process of actually doing it. For me, that was the problem because I was doing the work, not growing the business. I was working in the business, not on the business. I had no systems in place. I didn't know how to scale a company. I didn't know how to be a good leader. I didn't know how to build systems around what things were working. So in my end, Mike and I were just doing all of the work, and we were good.
Putting out fires.
We were just putting out fires and designing websites and going to client meetings and dealing with client problems and doing all of the things that takes to actually operate a business, but doing nothing that actually grew the business. We were like employees of our own businesses. And I think that happens to a lot of people because when you go into business, you don't think of it from a business point of view and you're attached to the work because that's what you know how to do.
And no one really teaches you that side of it.
Exactly. And that's one thing I tell myself and I look back to is would it have been better if I joined a successful web design agency before I started and understood from someone who was building out a successful team and understood the process, how it works, what the business is like? Because that would have given me such a different perspective and saved me so much time because I would have known how it already operates.
Okay.
And thinking about it now, I spent so much, 4 years, 5 years, just doing all of the work without doing anything that was moving the money needed to actually scale the company or grow the company.
Even though you were winning awards and
we were winning awards. Yeah, that was in the beginning. So our mission was Mike and I started Bison because we wanted to win the best website of the day award, which is hadn't been won locally. Some of the biggest agencies in the world win it. And after 2 years, we won it. But Mike and I were doing all the work. We tried employing people, but they ended up leaving. We employed people, but they weren't the right people. But the problem wasn't the people, it was us. And I can say that now because I can realize how terribly I was as a boss or as a leader in actually trying to grow the company. I was just telling people what to do.
Okay.
There was no training, there was no systems, nothing really worked. It was just just do this one thing and do it how I would do it.
Okay.
And it's I just employed someone who just came out of university and I'm expecting them to do a job that I've been doing for 5 years the way I would do it and think the way I would think. And it was just a mess.
So basically we're saying that all of the dials were turned on 10. Everything is heated. Obviously you're still doing fantastic work. I've seen some of the websites and they're stunning and you guys really
we're proud of our work, but it was just... That's the problem. We were employed by our own company and just doing the work, but not building a business.
Okay. And then what was that point where you were okay, things are going to change now?
It was just years of just getting fed up of... I knew things weren't working because we weren't growing. We hit a certain limit in revenue we're generating in the business, and we could never scale past that point.
Okay.
Scale, I wouldn't say scale, I would say grow past that point. And we always blamed the Maltese clients or the local industry or the clients. And
so it wasn't extreme ownership back then?
No, it wasn't, exactly. See, that's I never thought about it like that. Exactly. I knew there was something wrong, but I didn't know what it was because I was never really exposed to it. So I'm like, listen, Mike, we can't keep doing it. I'm not happy. I can't design another bloody website ever again in my life. I can't deal with another client problem and answer another email and do another strategy session. It just became like something like, oh my God, I'm doing this over and over again. The biggest thing was I'm not growing. I was like stagnant for 2 years.
Which is a really important
Which is
part
one of my,
who you
exactly,
are.
that's who I am and that's where I strive. Like if I'm growing, if I'm doing anything that's making me grow, I'm happy. Even if it's not work, if I'm sitting on the beach reading a book, as long as I'm doing something productive and I feel like I'm learning, I'm fine. But I spent 2 years in the business not knowing what the problem was and just stuck in the same position over and over again.
Okay.
Over and over again. And it's like, listen, Mike, I can't do this anymore. And like the only thing it came down to was we need to get more clients, right? We needed to find clients internationally. So like this silly side of us was like, okay, let's find a sales company that can actually sell our company internationally. So we spent like 6,000 euros on the sales company, outsourced everything to them, and we got absolutely zero results, literally nothing. And looking back at it now, I can say obviously we didn't get results because of how the business was set up. But then I'm like, okay, Mike, one more thing. I was researching on YouTube, like how to find new clients, how to find this, how to find that, how to grow a digital agency.
You're just trying to find answers at this point.
Just finding, and I've kept coming across the same guy. His name was Charlie Morgan, coming across his content and doing what he was saying and implementing them, and things were starting to work.
Okay.
I'm like, okay, cool, this is interesting. I'm getting out of this I'm getting some sort of results that, I mean, it wasn't results, but it was something was working. And he had a link to join his course. He had a community called Imperium Agency at that time. Now it's called Easy Grow, where they help digital agencies with their client acquisition problem, how to find more clients, which I never knew how to do. We always relied on the sphere of influence, our word of mouth, referrals. So our business grew naturally on that. We never really had a stream of like, this is how we acquire customers. Okay. And through that course, we spent, I think, 6,000 euros on the course then. And that's when my life changed, literally.
So what's interesting is that obviously you're trying to figure out a way to change the way Bison is operated.
It was either that or closing down Bison because I couldn't do it anymore. Okay. I wasn't happy doing the work and I was working from 4 a.m. sometimes till 10 p.m. and just putting out fires and just stuck in the same place. And I'm like, the only way I can grow this if I know how to get more clients so I can employ people who are as good as me to actually do the work. Okay. So that was the reasoning there.
So you invest the 6K?
Yes.
And then?
So that's like just to say like that was a lot of money for us back then because it's like I had never paid for a course. I had never done any mentorship. I had never done any coaching. So it was like a really weird time for us because we weren't sure if it was going to work. But I'm like, listen, we have to try something. Yeah. So I paid for that course. And then I'm like, the things I learned inside there were just like, oh my God, no wonder we can't grow a company. And no wonder we have no clients. That's actually a paid system to get clients or a client acquisition system. And it just opened my world to like a million different doors. I'm like, whoa. So this is how you grow a company. This is how you can scale a digital agency that I had. So the thing was a lot of it was based on client acquisition and running ads and cold DM outreach just to get new clients. And I just started learning all of these things from having no experience whatsoever to just diving headfirst into it and just starting to implement all of these systems. And within a couple of months, we started getting results. Like the good thing for us is that our product was dialed in. We had a good product with regards to the service we were delivering. We just had no idea how to get people into the business through like paid ads. Okay. And once I learned that, it was easier for us to start growing because we had a product that was good. It was just getting people to actually know about us and know about our products. So yeah, that's pretty much what happened after the first 3 months of working with them, opening up my mind to like how valuable paying for courses and paying for investing in your skills are. And that changed my whole trajectory of my life. From that day onwards till now, which happened like 2 years ago, I am a completely different person. Wow. It just started like a snowball effect of like buying the next thing and then going to the next mastermind and going to a course. And then it just made me realize all the answers you want have been done before. Like the problems you have in your business have already been solved by someone else. New. So why would you try to figure it out on your own when you can actually pay someone to show you how to do it? And once I had that mindset shift, it was like, okay, cool. What's the next problem to solve? Oh, my sales course are the problem. Let's find a sales course and let's find a sales coach. And I just went to the next thing and the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. And the amount of skills I stacked just by doing that and reinvesting the money I was making back into skills to grow the company and myself has just been insane for me.
That's so cool. And I think, like, it's kept you sharp. These courses have kept you very, very sharp. And I don't know if this is a Malta thing and it's just like maybe, I don't know, but I think we're not used to paying for certain education here because a lot of it is free.
I love that. Exactly. I love
and not
that.
for everyone, so this isn't like a blanket statement. But so then it's like going and paying X amount of money might be a bit uncomfortable at first because
You're not
maybe
used
you've
to
never
it.
had to do it, or
Yeah, I say that. Like Malta has a double-edged sword growing up here. Because like I started my own info product and I sell and I train real estate agents now, a course on like how to run their own ads and get their own leads. And the thing I see locally trying to sell it to an individual is that when was the last time you paid for knowledge or paid for school or paid for university? Like locally, we got paid to go to sixth form. We got stipend. We got paid to go to university. We got stipend. If you go anywhere else across the world, they're spending thousands to actually pay for the university school. So they're used to investing in themselves to get something. So I think the moment you start doing that here, it's like, whoa. It happened to me when I bought my first course. I'm like, this is weird, man. I've never done this before. I've never given money to learn something. So like, I think locally it sort of builds up this wall where you're not used to investing in your skills to learn something. It's always been given to us, which I'm not saying is a bad thing. It's quite amazing that we have the opportunity to learn,
100%.
to go through. But I think it's a double-edged sword in that sense because it's a lot of resistance to invest because we've never really done it before. It's uncomfortable.
And I think as well, whether obviously you're Maltese or you're not or whatever, I think also you just get into that work loop, which is obviously a necessary one and it's a good one. But it's hard to go home after work and continue to learn, continue to study.
Yeah.
Like it's not easy.
No, it's not. But if you
juggle all of that.
But that's the thing. Like you have to work harder on yourself than you do on your job, and that's one thing I learned once I paid for that course. Work harder on yourself than you do on your job. If you want more than you have to become more than you are, and the only way to do that is to invest in yourself, invest in your skills, invest in new courses, invest in programs, invest in a coach, whatever it may be. But if you're not working on yourself, you're going to be the same person over and over again. And what happens is you get a job, and like, okay, I'm sorted. I know everything now. I don't need to. I just want more money every year. I want to get an increase in my wage. Okay, why though? Have you changed from a year ago, or have you done the same thing over and over again? What skills have you learned? How are you going to provide more value to your company? So I think having that mindset of investing more in yourself allows you to get the things you want to get because you become more than you currently are.
And I really want people to understand, like listening to this, that it's not like you had like 6K and you were like, okay, I'm going to go do a course.
No,
like it was
a lot of money.
Stretch for you.
For sure.
Okay. And so I feel like now we're going into this like mentor side of the podcast, which I'm very excited to speak about because I know how passionate you are about it.
Yeah.
I'm also really lucky to be working with some amazing people right now that are also creating similar courses. So for me, it's like win, 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 win.
Yeah.
So the question I'm going to ask you is it's like a bit of a funny worded one, is where would you be had you not met your current mentor?
If I didn't pay for my first course, that course I told you about, probably stuck in that old office, depressed, trying to figure shit out, stuck in the same place. So yeah.
And that probably would have leaked out into other areas of your life.
100%. I probably would have stopped the business and just tried to find something else to do. And the problem about that is I would have tried 100 different things because I didn't have the right mindset then. It was like, oh, I'll try e-commerce or I'll try drop shipping and I tried all of those things and they all failed. Just to let you know, I've tried 100 different ideas to get out of that situation that weren't solving that problem I had by doing 100 different things. So I'd probably just be doing different things and failing in those different things because I wasn't solving the actual problem I had.
Okay. And obviously everyone knows what a mentor is, but what is a mentor to you?
I think the best way I can say it is when you start a sport for the first time, what do? Do you get a coach? If you want to start football, what do? You have, as a kid, you have a football coach. If you want to start tennis, you have a tennis coach. If you want to start jiu-jitsu, you have a jiu-jitsu coach. And for some reason, whenever we go to any other part of our lives, we just think we have all the answers. So I just went into business. I know business. I can do it myself. Oh, I'm going to start learning how to do sales. I don't need a coach. I can do it myself. I'll figure it. But you could go into football, you could go into tennis and do it yourself, but you're going to learn the wrong techniques, you're going to learn the wrong systems, you're not going to know how to think properly, and you're not going to have someone who has done it before show you how to do it. So that's the biggest, like the best way for me to look at it is that. Why is it that when you go to sports, you have a coach? Because that person's going to get you to where you want to go much quicker.
They're going
And
to
stop you
time.
stop you from doing the mistakes that they know are going to happen. Like, and if you didn't have that coach, you might be doing the mistake over and over and over and over again and not know you're doing something wrong. So the biggest thing for me as a mentor is like any part of my life I feel like I'm struggling, I want to improve, and I find a coach or I find a mentor to be able to help me get to where I want to go. It's basically paying for speed. And especially being in business, that's the most important thing for me. It's like, why would I spend 3 years of my life trying to figure something out if the problem has been solved before and I can get someone to actually show me how to do it?
Okay.
So then when you think about it like that, it's just common sense.
Yeah.
It's like, why wouldn't you do it? Why wouldn't you read the books? Why wouldn't you go to a lecture? Why wouldn't you pay for a course of someone who's had the same problem you have and solved it? So like when you look at it like that, it's extreme ownership again. It's your fault that you're not doing those things to actually get to where you want to go because you're not actually putting in the work. You're just complaining. Like I used to complain about it's my agency, it's the local market, it's the Maltese clients. It was all me. But now I can see it at a different point of view because I've been through it and I've paid for the course. So yeah, I think that's the best way to look at having a coach or a mentor. It's just a proven roadmap to get to where you want to go.
I love that you said that, like, if you were starting anything, you'd have a coach, and why wouldn't you have one for like a business?
Yeah.
Or when all of your life you've always had, well, up until you leave university or any kind of education, you always have someone guiding you, and then you're like thrown out.
I have a job. Okay, I'm done. My life's finished. I'm just going to stay at this job. I'm going to try to get better. I'm going to keep doing the work. Hopefully I get like a 5% increase at the end of the year and complain that my boss sucks and I don't enjoy the situation I'm in.
Okay.
When it's like, yeah.
So just a recap. So Bison's at a certain place, you start doing research, you find Charlie, who is your first mentor, and you go on this course.
Yeah, the course was online. So through the course, I did the course. I got the results I wanted to get. And then he reached out to a couple of people who were getting success and said, listen, I'm doing a mastermind in London. And I had no idea what on earth a mastermind was. I've never heard of the word before in my life. And he's like, listen, it's like 10 people who are making over a certain amount in their business a month. And it's a way for us to all meet together, and I'll be able to break down your business, help you understand what you should be doing and what you shouldn't be doing, a more one-on-one basis. Okay. Over like 3 days over a weekend in London. And yeah, I just said, I'm going to bet on myself. I learned a lot from this course already. Imagine how much I could get if I can be around him. Be in that room and be with someone who's making $1 million a month in their business, similar to the business I own. Imagine how much I could learn. So I'm like, okay, let's do it. And I put in my savings, and I just went up, and that changed my life again.
So after this mastermind, you were also kind of looking at things that had to change with Bison, and then you also start working on agent leaders. Exactly.
So the business agent leaders was born through the mastermind I went. If I didn't go to that mastermind, I wouldn't have probably ever started agent leaders.
Okay.
So that's why I'm trying to show how crazy and how, yes, they're a big investment and I paid a lot of money to be there, but the amount of value it gave to me and the amount of it sent my life on a different path just by being in that room with those people.
Just that exposure.
Yeah, I'm being in a room with those people, and he's like, okay, look, if you have an agency, the one thing he said that made the most sense to me was having an agency is a stepping stone into an information product, meaning selling what you know rather than doing the work as well.
Okay.
So it's like you've done 7 years, 8 years, 9 years of this thing.
Building websites
for a specific type of client in real estate.
In real estate.
Why not now teach your real estate clients how to do it themselves? So rather than doing all of the work. So at that point, I was already working with the software. It's like a CRM tool. And I'm like, okay, I'll combine the two together. I'll train real estate agents, everything I've learned over the past 9 years, and instead empower them to do it themselves.
And when you say train them, can you break that down?
Yeah, so like I bought the course. The course really opened my mind to start thinking, like, wow, I can do this myself. I can train people like my clients how to do things themselves. So the biggest thing for me with the course was, how can I empower someone to be able to solve a problem they had? I had a roadmap, like I said earlier, of how to run ads, how to get leads, how to build a website, and how to actually get more clients for my clients. So I said, okay, why not train my clients how to do that themselves? The biggest problem a real estate agent would have is they want to be able to generate more leads and more business. And because they get into real estate, like I said earlier, their whole concept was, I can just sell property. But as a real estate agent, you have two different people you have to be. You have to know how to get leads, be good at marketing, and then you have to know how to sell. And most people don't know anything about marketing when they go into real estate. So I'm like, if I can solve that one problem for them, then that could change their lives completely, because they can actually start making more deals and closing more deals and being more happy and being better for their family and providing more. So it starts, the dynamic changes between your clients, because rather than just having a client relationship, it's more of like a coach and a mentorship now, where they look at me as someone who can guide them to actually where they want to go. And the fulfillment it gives to me has been crazy, because I found a passion I never knew I actually had, which was coaching, training, and being able to actually help people get to where they want to go. And like that completely changed my life with regards to forget all the money, forget the business. It's like being that person that people can actually look at and actually say, thank you so much, you changed my life. I can actually provide for my family now. I'm going more appointments. I was scared to post on social media, and now I'm getting more leads than I know to do it. That transition for them was the same transition I went through in my life through buying my first course. So it's come full circle. It's like now I am that person that can actually provide and help them, which has been amazingly fulfilling for me.
That's so...
Not just in the work I do, but yeah.
That's so... I don't want to say beautiful, because it's funny to describe a business like that, but it is a business that is profitable, but is doing good at the same time for the people who are investing in it.
Yeah, and I think that lit a fire under me I never knew I had, which was I just want to be the best version of myself and build the best program and the best software to be able to help my clients get to where they want to go.
Okay, so in 2 sentences, what is Agent Leaders?
Our mission at Agent Leaders is to change the real estate market, where real estate agents focus on their clients' well-being rather than on transactions. And the reason why I say that, and it sounds like a crazy huge thing to say, is because, like I said, most agents don't know how to get leads. Now, if you have a family at home, a family to feed, and a lead walks through your door, you're going to do whatever it takes to sell them a property, whether it's good for them or not. You just care about your family. And I get that. And most people go to that. So if I could our mission is to change the market, because if we can change real estate agents to know how to get leads and to actually be in a situation where they don't have to sell something they don't really believe in, then that can change the market in general, where everyone's much happier. The clients, the real estate agents, and the industry changes as a whole. So that's our mission. And what we do is basically we train real estate agents how to run ads, how to qualify leads, how to speak to their clients, how to sell better. Basically the whole business with regards to getting a cold lead to an actual booked appointment and closing them. And we do that through our software, and we do that through our training. So it's like a software and an info product, but you can give software to anyone, but if they don't know how to use it, they don't understand the concepts, it's useless. Like how many times have you opened up a software and say, okay, now what? Instead, we shift it around where we sell the information first, the knowledge is like, we are going to help you get 10 booked appointments this month. And through that training, we show them the importance of our software and how it helps them get there. So yeah, we're using information to sell the software, but at the same time, building a community of agents who actually want to get to their goals and are committed to actually investing in themselves, learning and growing all together.
And what's the success rate then?
That wasn't one sentence, sorry.
No, it wasn't. What's the success rate?
We have a zero, from our point of view, it's like a 95% success rate of the clients we have. We have clients all over the world, Maltese, Portuguese, in Spain, in Dubai recently. So we're now scaling our ads internationally to start working with clients all over the world.
Amazing. So I know you have a YouTube channel. So for anyone that is interested in learning more about the agent leader side of things, and also maybe they're a real estate agent or they're just curious to see how you've laid out the course, they can check that out on YouTube. But something I want to really tease out, and you just mentioned it now, was mission. So I used to work at marketing agencies. I'm a marketer myself. So I know how important it is to state your mission on a website. And I remember when we spoke before, you used to think that having a mission was just something you write on your website because you've got that extra, fold on your website.
Exactly. You have to put a mission and a vision and a values. It was not always something that was just there to be there, but nobody actually believed in it.
So how has really understanding your mission, vision, and values saved 5 years of your life? And I want to, hopefully there's still people listening, is that what you're about to say next, we're going to be giving to people listening, or hearing this podcast. So I love this part.
So yeah, I think for me, the biggest thing was, again, the mindset shift happened at a mastermind. At mastermind I told you I went to. I always believed mission, vision, values was some bullshit people just said, put on their website. And then I met this man called Brian Moncada, who I'm actually in his mastermind, and he's my coach at the moment right now, who I've just been to last week to Ireland, and the month before I went to Scottsdale, Arizona to meet him there at his home. And we were driving in a taxi on the way to a dinner. And he started talking about his mission, vision, and values.
You probably rolled your
And
eyes
I'm like,
at that
oh my
point.
God, here we go. And I went to the restaurant, we sat down, and there's a video of this on YouTube on his channel of him telling us what his mission for his company was. And there's a video of me listening to it and saying, oh my God, I'll actually quit my job right now to join your company. And that's when everything changed for me, is because it was the first time I heard a leader or someone who owns a company say it with so much confidence that I'm like, whoa, this guy is actually trying to make a difference here. And I said, how powerful would that be if I had one for my own company? And I actually believed it. Because there's one thing saying it, but there's a completely different thing actually believing it and living it.
I think that's the real...
That's the thing. Because I could say it before, but I never really meant it. And now when I said my mission and vision about agent leaders, you could tell that I actually believed in what we're trying to do there. And yeah, I think that's the biggest thing, and that's the biggest change, and the biggest mindset shift for me was that one conversation. And that's what I want to emphasize on, is going to that mastermind, paying all of that money, that one conversation alone, that wasn't even directly why I was there in the first place. It was just a conversation I had with someone who was there, changed my life.
And you could have spent the rest of your life trying to find that answer.
Yeah, I mean, that's it. It's like being around those people in that situation, around people who are trying to grow and who are in the same industry as you, have the same beliefs as you, and live the same type of lifestyle. Just hearing it from them and seeing them do it at the scale you want to be at just makes you realize, wow, okay,
it's possible.
This is what's stopping me, and this is what I should be doing.
Yeah. And I mean, you don't have to go all the way to Arizona or Ireland to find a mentor. Even if you're from Malta, you're from maybe the smallest place ever, I'm sure that there is someone somewhere that is
100%.
a representation of what you want.
And I'm once, for a couple of months in my life, Jordan Peterson was my mentor. I just consumed all of his content. I watched all of his lectures, and I just figured out I was having a problem in my life and something I wanted to get over.
So it can be from a distance too.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't have money to invest, at the same time, just buy books and read and consume content and just align yourself to that type of person and just see what they're doing until you actually have enough money to want to invest. So yeah.
I mean, that's how I see this podcast. For me, it's very much like I told you right before we started recording.
Yeah.
I get to spend an hour listening to someone, and in some ways they become my mentors too. So hopefully I'm going to have a thousand of them by the end of all of this.
Exactly.
And so, okay, so you start to realize missions actually mean something.
Yes. And not just for my business, for my life as well.
Okay.
And that's a massive change as well. It's okay, I have a mission for my business, but what is the mission and vision for my life? And what are the values I live by? And who is the person I want to become? And where do I want to be?
And how did you start that?
So I realized that from this guy, Brian Moncada, who I paid for him to be my coach. And he does something called a morning ritual, which he showed me, which I never heard of before. So basically what he did and what he showed me was he wrote out a document, like a biography, a 2-page document of himself at the third person of who he's going to become in the future.
So what would that look like?
So it'll be, for example, Sam Urpani is an exceptional leader, coach, mentor. He's XXX. He's making X amount of money. He's doing this in his specific job. He managed to scale his company to this 7 figures. He provides for his family and he's there for his wife and his children and everything that if you could sit down and close your eyes and say, if I could have everything I ever wanted in life, if I could live the life of my dreams, if I could be the person that I always wanted to be, what would that be?
But that doesn't collapse you. That it's so much potential and opportunity, and almost scares you if you don't get it.
No, because I think I can say that because like I said, it's the only reason I've done it is for me to realize who I need to become and the skills I need to learn to get there. I don't attach myself to the end result because that's what's going to happen if you do. Which is going to say, oh no, if I don't get it, I'm going to be depressed or I'm not going to be happy.
Yeah.
That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying figure out what you actually want. Because most of the time we've never, with our lives and with social media.
Just be honest with yourself.
When is the last time you asked yourself what you wanted?
This morning.
Amazing. Well, most people, and for me, for the most part of my life, was like I was just living and doing things and just blowing in the wind, which sometimes could be a good thing because it's like you're living with the flow and you're doing, but having direction and to say, this is my dream life, and knowing that you can actually have it.
And even if you don't get 100, you get to 80, you're still
No, I'm not saying exactly. And the thing is, it might change over 2 years. You might acquire all of these skills, and like that's what happened to me. I wrote my morning ritual, and I wanted all of these. Like I wanted a watch, I wanted this house. Those were my goals I set out for myself. And once I started acquiring the skills to actually get them, which is being better at business, being a better leader, I started realizing, whoa, man, I don't really want these things. It's like terrible goals and bullshit goals. But I could only see that once I became the person that actually wanted to get those goals and actually got them.
Yeah.
So it's like a constant transformation. That's like on the way to achieving your goals, you're going to start realizing that you become and transform into a new person.
Which is okay.
And that new person is going to look back at the goals you set and say, what the hell was I even thinking about? That's so low. I wanted a new watch. And now I want to make impact. Now I want to be able to be the best leader. But I can only think like this now because I set those goals and I started to achieve them.
Okay.
Like it's about who you become, not about what you achieve along the way.
Yeah.
And like I said, I don't attach myself to the end result. That's just there for me to know who I want to be right now and who I'd want to be in the future. And yeah, if you don't get it, it's not the end of the world. It's not like I'm attaching my happiness to it. And the happiness is in the becoming. The happiness for me is the constant unfolding of the life that I've designed and becoming the person that I wanted to become. And even if that changes, that's fine. But at least you know you're constantly evolving and changing and growing. And that's, like I said earlier, is like I always want to be growing. So for me, that really made a lot of sense. I'm not saying it's worked for everyone. I'm just saying what worked for me and like how that helped me change my life.
Exactly. And do you think this is something you can do at any age, or is it only something you can do when you're young and now it's too late?
No, I would say the opposite of being young. I would say once you're growing, I think we get so caught up into just doing and living and doing our job and repetitiveness over and over again. We just get stuck into that. So I think if you could just sit down at any age of whatever stage you are in your life and say, where am I actually going and what do I want to be and who do I want to become and what do I want to make? And it doesn't even have to be money. It could just be the life you want to live or the husband you want to be or the father you want to be. But as long as you're clear on that, then you can understand how you can get it. But if you don't do that, you're just going to be doing the same thing over and over again, not knowing where you're going. For me, that is.
Yeah. No, I love all of this. Like, I'm not saying much because in my head I'm like, yes. So, okay. So someone's listening now, right? Never had any of this, and now they're hearing you say morning formula and this, and they're like, well,
what the hell is this guy talking about?
So I want you to explain to me, if you're explaining it to someone for the first time, which you probably are, the morning formula.
Okay.
Warm up.
How can I need more than an hour to go
people,
through all this?
And how that guides you through all of your decision making.
Yeah. So
from the moment you wake up.
Look, I think the morning formula is just basically, like I said, I'll put the links for you to actually go through what mine would look like, so you can actually have a sort of formula of how to start it. But the thing is, just understand who you want to be. What is your perfect life in 10 years' time? And just write that down as if you're writing a book about yourself, as if you've already achieved all of the things you wanted to achieve.
And you read it every morning.
And I read that every morning. Along with that, I have a list of hates, things I hate about what I would do or things I don't like doing.
How does that help you?
Because I realize when I'm doing them, I shouldn't be doing this. And I just changed the actual action.
Is it like eating a certain way?
Exactly.
Or not working out?
You're going partying out on the weekend and getting home at 4 a.m. I mean, like things that I know that are not good for me that I end up doing and regretting.
Okay.
So like list of hates.
So you need a reminder of these things.
Yeah, so just to keep myself in check.
Okay.
Then I have a mood board of like my dream lifestyle, like the car I want and the house I wanted and the watch I wanted, which I'm wearing right now.
Okay.
Which like I started achieving those things because I was clear about what I wanted.
Okay.
And then I have a list of like quotes I live by, for example. Like, you don't have to do those things, but those really help me as well. Just remember why I'm doing the certain things I'm doing and why and how I'm going to get there. And that just allows you to then build out a warm-up. Now, a warm-up is just a way for you to not get stuck up in the daily tasks you have to do as your job or your business, but to create a roadmap of, okay, this is where I want to go. Now, how am I going to get there? And what are the daily things I need to be doing that are going to get me closer to that person? Right? So there's a book called The One Thing that really helped me understand this and change my life on not doing a million things, but just doing one thing one thing every day that's going to get you closer to where you want to go.
Okay.
So like, what's the one thing you can do right now that's going to get you closer to building this podcast to wherever you want to take it? Now, that could be really small right now, but if you understand where you want to go, which is going to be in your morning formula, morning ritual, you can say, okay, I want to make 7 figures with this podcast. I know you don't want to do that, but let's just say, for example. But so let's say that's the goal. Okay, what do I have to do to get there? What are the daily tasks, the weekly tasks, the monthly tasks, the yearly tasks?
And you put these all in your warm-up?
Yes, and the warm-up is basically you plan it in quarters. It's
Okay.
going to be really hard to explain without it seeing it visually, but you plan it in quarters and you say, okay, for this quarter, I'm going to focus on finding the perfect guests.
Okay.
So I know today I have to do this task, and the next day I'm going to do this task. So if I can plan it in a month in advance, I know every day I'm doing something that's moving the needle to get me closer to where I want to go. And if you don't do that, what was happening to me before I had that was I was just putting out fires in the business, not knowing what to do next. Nothing was moving the money needle. So it's always like, okay, what's the one thing I can do today that's going to get me closer to where I want to go, and how am I going to do that? So everything's done with intention. I'm doing a task that's actually getting me closer.
And what if you have loads of things you need to do? Like
So-
you have a business, you have a side business.
Yeah, so
you
that's what
have-
happened to me. So what I do is called win the morning, win the day.
Okay.
So I have 2 hours every single morning. I'll wake up at 5, half 5 in the morning. I'll do from 6 till 9, whatever it may be. Focus on my one thing. No distractions. My phone off. My emails are off. I have no social media. I just focus unobstructed, like no distractions work on the one thing that's going to get me closer. And most of the time, those 3 hours of work basically trump a whole day's of work. Because it's in those 3 hours where you're actually moving and getting closer to where you want to go. Because 9 o'clock comes along, you have a call, you have a client, you have this, you have that, and you're going to forget everything you're doing, and nothing's going to be able to. You're just putting out fires. So that's why I try to wake up early and do those important tasks without any distractions whatsoever.
Okay.
Because I used to be the guy who had like 15 tabs open on one screen, WhatsApp on the other screen, my Slack channel here. And I used to jump from like one project to the next. Okay, I'm solving this. Okay, now. And now I realized from that book, the one thing is like, that's just the worst way to work. I have a timer on my desk, and I have slots in my day that are assigned to specific tasks. So, okay, from 5 to 9, I'm doing ads to grow the company and sales processes. Then from 9 to 10, I have meetings with my team. Then from 10 till 11, I'm going to do deep work, which is like a problem in the business I'm going to solve. Then from 12 onwards, I'm open to meetings. I don't do meetings in the morning specifically without my team, just because my day used to be one meeting 1 hour, then a meeting the next. Like, I just never used to be able to get things done because I was trying to do everything at once.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just have a one thing, have the warm-up, have where you want to go, and then plan your day out in sections where you can actually focus on the things that are going to get you closer to where you want to go. I know that sounds like a lot right now, but yeah, if you look at the links, there's a video of me explaining this, and I can show you and give any value. Like, just reach out and I'll show you exactly how that works.
Yeah. No, I think it sounds fantastic. Whilst you're talking, what's coming into my head was that this sounds really good and maybe easy to do for a week. How do you do it for 365 days for the rest of your life? Maybe not the rest of your life.
That then ties into why you're doing it.
Is this for the money?
No, the thing is, if I didn't have that morning formula of who I wanted to become and what I want to be and why I'm becoming that person and why I wanted to do and the impact I want to have, then I would have never done any of the tasks. But now there's something much bigger than money, much bigger than me. My mission is much bigger than I want to make X amount of money. I want to have X amount of impact. I want to change people's lives. So now it's like I'm doing this because it's tied to my big mission and my values and my beliefs.
Mm-hmm.
So without having that tied down to a bigger picture, a bigger goal, then you're never going to be able to do it, because you're going to do it for a week and like, oh, screw it, I'll just go back to.
So it's no longer about the watches and the cars.
No,
I mean, they're nice to have.
No, it's about your why. Like, why are you doing it? What impact do you want to make? And for me, it's like that I'm motivated because I want to make an impact and I want to be the best leader I can be. But for you, it could be something completely different.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not tied down to money. It needs to be much bigger than money. It needs to be something of like, what's going to wake you up in the morning? When you have a shit day, what's going to make you wake up and want to do that thing?
Yeah.
And actually do those goals and actually show up every single day.
Mm-hmm.
So if you don't have that bigger mission, then it's never going to work. And that's what happened to me for the majority of my life when I had Bison and we didn't really have a mission. It was just like, oh, we're just doing websites. I just want to make money.
Yeah.
Now it's like, I want to make impact and I want to be the best version of myself. I want to be the best leader and I want to provide X amount for my family so they don't have to worry about. So now that my goals are tied into retiring my parents and paying off their home loan. And when I wake up in the morning, what am I going to do? Not do that because I just don't feel like. No, I'm going to become this person because I set it. This is what it's tied to, and that's how I'm going to get there.
And the why became bigger than yourself.
Yes, exactly. If you don't have a big why, I mean, again, it's hard to have that in the beginning. I can understand that because I never really had that. It just took constant development and constant thinking.
You can have multiple whys.
Yeah, and I think it's like I naturally like to deep thinker about myself and all of these things. So I'm always working and developing that, and it changes, and that's fine. It's just don't stress yourself out too much to actually have a why tomorrow because it's not going to happen. It's going to be developed over time and once you grow and once you achieve certain things.
Yeah, amazing. Sam,
I hope
honestly, it's, I mean, I love having these conversations, you can probably tell, but it's, it brings me back to a lot like when I used to swim and even as I do sports today, it's like understanding the goal. On the days you don't feel like showing up for training, you're like, okay, this is where the work is being done.
Exactly.
This is where the magic is. Just keep on going.
Yeah.
So I like to end the episodes with just like a couple of questions. They're different for every guest. So I wanted to ask you, on the days that you wake up and everything feels a bit dark, what's your routine like to get you out of that space? Because I'm sure you don't wake up every day like...
I think that ties into what I said earlier about myself, which is like, I don't really have those days, luckily. I don't really have... Yes, things get tough and work gets... But I just naturally get on with it. So I would feel like I'm doing a disservice or lying to you if I told you this is how I get out of dark situations, because luckily I don't really have those thoughts and I never really had them. It's just like I just get on with it, and luckily I never really suffered with anxiety or any of like, I can't sit here and tell you this is what you should do because I feel like I'd be lying.
All right.
And luckily that I never really have those thoughts because, I don't know, I just never really had them, to be honest.
Okay. And what has been your most recent client win when it comes to someone you've had in the course for agent leaders?
I mean, the best one for me was someone called Ivan who joined the program, who was scared to create a Facebook page, didn't know anything about marketing, was struggling in his business. And within 3 months, he closed 2 deals. He's getting more leads than he knows what to do with. We were just on a call this morning, on a coaching call, where we're objection handling, and you can just see the confidence built up in him and him just training his team as well and giving feedback and just transformed him as a person. And that's the biggest thing for me. It's like, it's not really real estate. It's helping people become who they want to become, to be able to provide for themselves, their families. And that transformation for me is just trumps everything else.
Okay, amazing. Okay, and last question. Is there a book or anything that you would recommend to someone that can really just from listening to this podcast help them figure out the next phase when it comes to missions and visions?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for me, book-wise, I read loads of books. So I think the biggest one is, if you're struggling in business, it's the E-Myth, which just shows you what I was explaining earlier about like having a talent and doing something and not knowing how to grow the business. The one thing, if you're doing a million things at once and have a million different ideas, read that book to help you understand how to get focused on one thing to achieve the results you want to get. And then leadership, there's a book called The 21 Laws. And then for leadership, there's a book called The 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership by Maxwell. He has loads of books, but that's the best one for me that made the biggest impact, which was the first quote: your level of success is capped by your level of leadership. And for me, that's one quote that changed my life, to realize I can't do everything myself, and the only way to grow is by getting people to help me on the journey and like build a mission, vision, values, instill it in them, and help them get that together.
Amazing. I asked for 1 book and I got 3. So very, very good. Sam, this was super, super cool. Anyone who's interested in learning more about missions, visions, and values, we're going to provide all of the links.
Yeah.
You can follow Sam on Instagram. He's also a budding YouTuber. And I really hope that everybody enjoys their journey into why and just really working on those morning formulas.
Exactly. Thanks for having me.
Super cool. Thanks, Sam.
Cheers.